there's two. If we divide people into two groups,
Okay.
there's going to be a group of people that are chomping at the bit to achieve. So when they listen to this,
yes.
they want to get better at achieving. There's other people that have moved to a place where they don't even believe they can achieve the things they wish they could. We've set it through, and we've done weak goal setting and had it go awry, and so we kind of write off goal setting altogether. In fact, some people I've talked to, they are more afraid of stating that they want to do something, as if the making the goal makes it more likely that they won't achieve it.
Like, just think about when you get in your vehicle to drive. If you don't take just a brief moment and tell your psyche where you're going, then you just drive unconsciously, and you'll end up driving the wrong place.
I think we talk about this a lot in Humble Strong, that growth is intentional. Experience, playing volleyball doesn't make you better, but with the intention to grow and get better at volleyball, playing volleyball would be an opportunity to grow and get better at volleyball. You don't grow without intention. Some people call that intentionality a goal. Some people call it direction.
Right.
Some people call that intentionality and that purpose. They'll call it a commitment or even a value. Some will claim that they don't have goals, but they'll be operating on clear intentions that really are goals. And so we can write fancy books and say there's no goals. But really, what we're getting down to is that we don't start walking and happen to end up where we really want to be. We want to be there, and we set some intention. And however soft or whatever psychological process we use, really that happens to be a goal. And that's why it's really important, I think, for us to talk about what are some negative ways or bad ways people set goals, and what are some ways to make those goals actually a bit more sturdy.
We're going to be getting into the difference between a stated goal and a BS goal.
BS goals.
BS goals.
Which we'll say for all our listeners. BS.
Yes.
If you don't know what BS stands for, ask your mom. She's put up with your BS, so she knows how to explain it to you.
Well, because it's really important to be able to sniff out whether this is a BS goal you're dealing with, because it's just not going to work. You're going to be trying to strive for something that you don't hit. So next time around when it's goal setting time, they'll do exactly what you described there. You'll say, this doesn't work, this is stupid, New Year's resolutions are a waste of time. And really what happens is, because you didn't hit your previous goal, you lose that momentum. So, and that's the problem. If you're setting BS goals, that becomes a major destruction to your self-efficacy.
You mean like over time it compounds? So, so if somebody is listening to this and they're anti-New Year's resolution, it's probably because they've been burned.
I tried it, it didn't work.
And the reason why they got burned is almost like, from all the myriad of reasons we don't achieve goals, so much of it really just falls down to the goal was BS to start.
So let's get into the problem of the bullshit. Shoot. Okay.
I would never talk like that.
Okay. I'll try one more time.
My wife is out there. Tony, you faker. So because we want to be able to set real goals, actual goals, and meet them, we need to talk about how to sniff out the BS goals.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's get down to some ways, some simple questions we can go down. Well, there's a lot of ways to solve this problem. There's a lot of solutions. You know, with your system, for instance, you have a whole way of talking about how to do anchoring, which is our first one. But we're just going to talk about the checklist right now, because even if we walk through this checklist, our goals are going to get a lot sturdier. They're going to get a lot better.
Yeah. So it's a checklist to identify if this is a BS goal.
I think so.
Right. Let's go through it.
Do you think also people...
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
saw your arm move like you were ready to...
No, I did have something, but you go ahead.
Number one, a goal is BS if it's unanchored. What does that mean?
Unanchored. Okay, so
unanchored.
We don't have time to get into how to anchor, but it has to do with how it is set into your psyche. Okay, your unconscious knows that this is the absolute must-get goal. And so I use some visualization techniques for ways to make this happen. But basically, you'll know if you're anchored if inside you there is an emotional need to hit that thing.
So verbalizing, internalizing, there's all sorts of ways which we can try to anchor it.
Yeah, you want to visualize it, verbalize it.
Is this why people tell
internalize it.
other people their goals? Is this the whole
Part of
tell
it.
other people your goal thing? It helps anchor it,
Part of it, yeah.
helps commit yourself to it and
Yeah,
stuff.
but you don't want to be bragging about it. You just want to talk to just a couple people
So if
they
you're like,
know.
if your tendency is to oblige others rather than to achieve your own stuff, telling other people and trying to get other people to do your goal with you is one of your methods for trying to anchor that into. So is it purely psyche, or is it anchor it into your social context as well?
That's part of it. Someone's going to be keeping you accountable. For example, I just had one for finishing the first draft of the book I'm working on. Just finished it last Tuesday. My kids knew that if I didn't finish it, we made a deal that I would have to donate $100 to a political party that they know that I detest. Either one of the two extremes, right? And they were laughing that they got a chance to
So you kind of built a little commitment mechanism.
bingo. But because I shared it with my kids, I had to have it done by a certain date. It had that social oomph to it. But that more so though, it really stuck it in my psyche. This has to get done.
So you're finding ways to anchor this goal, make it something.
So my psyche knows this is it.
Not just a thing I thought about. It would be nice if I did it this year. You're trying to anchor it. Find ways to anchor it in.
It's not an option. Yeah.
So number 2, a goal is BS if it's too big for the time frame. Now, for me, this has to do with the comfort of huge goals. If your time frame is a year or a quarter, and you set some goal like my company's going to go from 0 to a Fortune 500 company, you're actually living in the comfort of a goal that you know you can't reach.
Yeah.
So we do this in
ridiculous.
business a lot, actually, in business. Like, if we are afraid to set goals that are small enough for us to attain, because when we can't attain it, we don't blame ourselves. We don't blame anybody. So if me and you, if we're talking about Leader FM, and we say our goal, we're going to have a goal to have our videos each have 3 million views a video. It is so out of proportion with where we are right now. We're not going to get mad when we fail.
Yeah. It was just whatever.
It's like,
But then
we're never going to hit it anyway.
That's
We're
a BS
crazy.
goal. It's
BS.
like there's no emotion invested in it.
Yeah. Instead of setting a goal that we actually know if we worked harder, just a bit harder, we can hit.
Yeah.
So that's the too big for comfort, or so big it's actually easier because there's no regrets
There's no
in missing
chance
it.
of hitting it. So.
Yeah.
So you know it's a BS unconsciously right from the get-go.
Because you get more afraid of goals that are attainable. In marketing, you're afraid of whittling it down to a specific customer because you know you can fail at reaching that customer. Instead of trying to sell to everybody. And then I don't feel bad because it's like, well, maybe I didn't focus enough. If you need to give yourself something, and the next one is kind of relates to that, and that is, your goal is BS if you really haven't gotten clear on what failure looks like.
This is one thing that you introduced to me about a year ago, and I've since used it with quite a few of my clients. Understanding and being really clear and describing what failure means is one of the quickest ways to draw that line with the "I'm not going there" kind of emotion, right? But it also helps define what success is going to look like.
Yeah, that a lot of times we don't know. We know we want to grow. Okay, how do you know that you failed at growing? Decide on what metric you're going to use. Decide on what failure looks like. Then now we have something a bit more meaningful. Like I know with a lot, like even with my own company, there's an emotional wall there. Dude, if you sketch out what failure looks like, then this means that you'll know what failure looks like, and you could fail.
And you could fail.
And if you don't want to fail, then you're not gonna. Your goal is gonna be BS because you don't want to fail. It's okay to not want to fail. Failure kind of sucks. Even though I parade it all the time. Failure's good. Failure's how you ever become a champion is through failure. But that doesn't mean failure doesn't suck. And
well, that becomes the compelling part of the goal, right? If like it's not just that it would be nice if I got that, and wouldn't that be nice? There's the carrot, but there's also the stick. It would suck if I fail.
And this is the next the next item on the checklist.
Okay, what's that?
Is what you're saying right now. If you are not emotionally anxious about hitting it, it's probably BS.
Yeah.
The goal can scare you, but if not hitting the goal, if for it to be a sturdy goal, not hitting the goal has to scare you more
Yeah.
than the fear of hitting
And
it.
the fear of hitting it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So let's re-say that so we're not in some double negative kind of.
let's say you set a BS goal. You don't realize that it is, but it is. Okay. What ends up happening is your unconscious knows what the real goal is. So when you set a BS goal, your unconscious knows that it's not the real one. So for example, when I was in high school, I used to say, I'd really like to get a 90 average. But the reality was, I only really needed to get a 75 because my high school used to have departmental exams. If you had a 75 average in the class before the exam came along, you didn't have to write the exam. And I hated the exams, so that's what I really, really needed, right? 90 was optional, 75 was not optional. And my average was always between 75 and 78. Here's why. Your unconscious knows the difference between the BS goal and the actual must get to survive goal. And as soon as it hits that goal, it takes its foot off the gas and stops really striving. You know how you just kind of coast from that point on. And that's why it's so important to differentiate what your real goal is from your BS goal. Because if you're only setting the BS goal, you're never going to hit that, and you're going to constantly think that this goal setting thing is awry.
It's why a lot of times we just say, my goal is to get to the tournament.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit safer.
But then once you get to the tournament, I qualified for the Olympics. Yay, I hit my target. Then the unconscious takes its foot off the gas. And there's no chance you're going to sit on the podium then because you're not, your unconscious is going to say, good enough, 75 is good enough.
This is why I stayed away from the Olympics.
I wondered why.
But a cue that it's BS is that you don't feel, there's no pain there, right? Is that what you're talking about? There's no pain. When I think about not achieving that.
I think of the statistics on people doing their doctoral degree. So of the people that get all their coursework done and just have their dissertation left to write, only 1/3 ever complete their dissertation. The other 2/3 are still, they're called all but dissertation. And I remember when I was working on it, it took me 4 years to write that darn dissertation. And the whole time, it was never in my mind an option to not. That scared me because we've invested so much time and money, and my kids would be so disappointed in me, and my wife would want to disown me. Like, see, all these things are negative.
And it's actually okay to build those up.
As long as it's optimal.
As long as it's obtainable. You're talking about something you've already done the work on.
But that negative emotion, the fear of if I fail, that fear can become so paralyzing and disgusting and gross and whatnot. That becomes suboptimal, right? You want to have just the optimal level of negative feelings about if I fail.
To energize your work.
That energizes that goal, so it is an absolute must-reach goal. I have to finish this dissertation regardless. So you need to outline the pain and the pleasure. So the pain of not getting the goal, but the pleasure of getting it. And then those two emotions kind of blend together to make a very compelling goal.
They kind of give us the energy to go after it.
Yeah.
And not the kind of negative fear of not reaching the goal that is kind of self-defeating and believing I can't actually reach the goal. Not that kind of fear. Yeah. So the next one is no easy steps within your circle of influence. It's BS if you don't have a staircase to it. It needs to be greater than what you can do. But for instance, if I'm going to grow my sales to a level I haven't done before, I can't just say that. I need a staircase. I need to think about a staircase full of things I can do.
You know what the next step is.
Yeah, I can make more calls. I can read another book. I can look at steps that might improve my sales. And if I don't have those in mind, if I don't have simple steps that aren't freaking my brain out, I can't push to the place I haven't been before. Because the place I haven't been there. So my brain will freak out if that's the only thing out on the horizon. And again, sometimes that gets so freaky it becomes easy. But when you bring it down to this, it's challenging. It's above us like that team. We could win. So if we don't have some sense of how, it's total BS.
Yeah.
So in summation, we have these.
Yeah. So what are they again? Let's go over them quickly again. So
number one, it's BS if it's unanchored.
Right.
It's BS if it's too big for the time frame. If it's this goal that's so big, we feel completely comfortable with not reaching it because it was kind of out of reach anyway.
We're just fooling ourselves. Yeah.
It's BS if we don't know what failure really looks like. If we haven't decided.
There's no definition there.
If it's just I want to be healthier, that means nothing.
Yeah.
What does failure look like? And it's a complete BS goal if we don't have a staircase, if we don't know simple steps that are within our circle of control that we can take to go towards that goal, towards that achievement. Yeah. And again, this is a really, really big one. It's BS if we're not emotionally anxious about not reaching that goal. If there's no pain, if we don't feel more pain in not reaching it. This is, I think you use the word must.
Must reach goal.
So it's like, it sounds like it's a higher level of goal, but you're saying that's all like a sturdy
must
goal.
Reach, no options. This is it.
If you're not must reach, it's a BS goal. And there's different tools we can pull out, and you do a whole series on this how to help people create must reach goals. But if it's not that, it's BS. And there's a lot of things we've done in our lives, not because we went through some sophisticated planning process, but because we had all this stuff in place.
Right. And if you do it well, like especially if you do the anchoring well, it's been shown that almost always you'll come to your goal by plus or minus 5%. You can almost guarantee it.
I feel like we've achieved something here. Maybe
plus or minus 5%?
Maybe even a goal. I think it's because we were intentional.
Maybe. To identify if this is a BS goal.
I think so.
Right. Let's go through it.
Yes. So, I'm trying to be funny, but I made myself laugh.
I got it. Eventually.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Okay. Yes.
What do we got to back up to?
You just said, you reiterate, and then I say, yes. Indeed. Indeed, my good man. Okay. So. Woo. Okay.
I've gotten lost here.
We can try this one more time. Not one more time. Sorry, I got a call on my watch just during the middle of it.
Oh, that threw you off, did it?
And usually it wouldn't throw me off, except it was a 306 number. It wasn't just like the bank. Somebody saying, "Hey, your bank, RBC, gives out your personal information to other people to use to try to sell you stuff." I know that's the most unethical thing you can imagine, but RBC does that, and so we're calling you now saying, "Hey, yeah, we're with your RBC, and by the way, here's some other thing you can do." And I just have to say goodbye. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But we're not critical here.